Welcome to Black Nouveau. This is our edition for February 1st, 2017. I'm Joanne Williams. This summer will mark the 50th anniversary of one of Milwaukee's longest civil rights struggles, the battle for open housing. We'll talk with one of the original participants and tell you about plans for the anniversary. February 7th is National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day. We'll tell you where you can get tested and show you a new weapon in the battle against HIV. You know, here at Black Nouveau, we celebrate African American history every day. But today begins African American History Month. It's a celebration that began in 1915. That was the year that historian Carter G. Woodson participated in the 50th anniversary celebration of emancipation that was sponsored by the state of Illinois. Thousands of Black Americans traveled across the country to Chicago to see his exhibits. They highlighted the progress we had made since slavery ended. Crowds of from 6,000 to 12,000 people waited outside the Coliseum for their turn to view the exhibits. Inspired by the success of the three-week celebration, Woodson created the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History. A year later, he began publishing the Journal of Negro History. And in 1926, the association announced Negro History Week. It would take place in the second week of February. In 1976, the association used its influence to institutionalize the celebration into a month-long event. President Gerald Ford signed federal legislation marking the entire month of February as Black History Month.
Lift every voice and sing, earth, heaven, ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies resound, rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. March on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, the chastening rod felt in the days when hope unborn has died, yet with a steady beat and not our weary feet come to the place from which our fathers died. We have come over a way that with tears have been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughter, out from the gloomy past till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our star is cast. God of our from the places, our God, where we met thee. Lest our hearts, drunk of the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand. True to our God, true to our God, true to our native land, true to our native land.
These are some of the special programs that PBS will air during the month.
This February, explore African American lives and history. Experience the grandeur of Africa's great civilizations.
This is the untold story of how Africans helped shape our modern world.
Encounter the remarkable life and legacy of Maya Angelou.
Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise.
And confront issues of the past and present.
For more information, go to our website, milwaukeepbs.org, and scroll down until you come to this icon and then click on it.
On August 28th, 200 civil rights protesters marched across the 16th Street Viaduct to Milwaukee's South Side, where blacks had not been able to live. They were met by about 5,000 angry white spectators who threw rocks, bricks, and obscenities at them.
50 years ago, in the summer of 1967, Milwaukee earned the title of Selma of the North. It's because of the city's battle for open housing.
I grew up on the South Side. When we marched across the viaduct, we marched to an area where I hung out as a teenager. The African American teenagers in the Youth Council were terrified. I thought they were wrong. I thought it won't be. It turned out they were right.
I didn't know that racial hatred ran so deep as it did, and how the people, they were so angry, and what we were protesting for was not to take anything away. It was just for the right to be able to intermingle with all people.
Instead of being disheartened, the Youth Council's resolve was strengthened.
We are going to march again on the South Side this evening. We're going to begin here at the Freedom House at 6 o'clock, and we're going to take the same route that we took last night.
The second night, the protesters were met by a bigger and angrier crowd and the national news media. The ensuing confrontation caused Milwaukee to be dubbed the Selma of the North by journalists covering the event.
Prentice McKinney was one of the NAACP Youth Commandos. He and Adam Carr are on the 50th anniversary March on Milwaukee committee. Welcome to Black Nouveau.
Thank you for having us.
Prentice, you marched during those 200 nights. What was the strongest memory you have of marching? What's the first memory you have of going on those marches?
Probably the first two outstanding memories is one when at 18 I confronted the mayor about the fact that African Americans could serve in the armed forces and whatever, but we couldn't move outside of the ghetto. The second most poignant memory I have is crossing the 16th Street Viaduct and seeing virtually thousands upon thousands of people, angry, riotous in nature, throwing bricks and calling us out of our names because we wanted to march on the South Side.
Did you expect that many people?
No. No, I didn't think bigotry was as deeply embedded in Milwaukee as we later found out it was.
When you were crossing the bridge, as you got to the height of the bridge and you looked down and you saw all those thousands of people, what did you think?
I was angry. I was angry.
Were you afraid?
No. I was just angry to think that I had two brothers in service who were serving this country, who couldn't even buy my mother a home in this city out north of Capitol Drive, and that there would be this many people here supporting that kind of concept. I was also registered to be drafted myself. And so my choices were either to march against this racism or go fight for it. I decided to march against it. So no, I wasn't afraid.
But you could have just stayed home and let somebody else go and march across the bridge.
In order for evil to prevail, it only requires that good people do nothing.
Well, Adam, why did you get involved in this? You weren't even around
That's true.
50 years ago. What interested you, and why are you passionate about it?
So 50 years later, the magnitude of the problems our city is facing seem, kind of we're in a very similar place. So when we started calling meetings early last year, a lot of community members came in and we said, the 50th anniversary of the open housing marches are coming up. How might we respond as a city? And we were flooded with ideas, with energy, with creativity, pulling in a lot of different directions, and just seeing how much faith people had in the potential of the collective to provide us the solutions we need today got me really excited. That said, there were so many different ideas for directions that eventually we found these ideas of recognition, of seeing and teaching and passing on what happened 50 years ago, and reignition as being the big ideas that we're approaching for this upcoming 50th anniversary.
Who do you want to participate? Just people like Prentice who marched, or just African Americans? Who do you want to be part of this commemoration?
Our approach really is sort of a yes and when we brought people to the table. I feel incredibly privileged to be able to spend time with Prentice and with the rest of the coordinating committee, but we're opening it up to anyone who's interested involved. So the name of our initiative that we're planning right now, 200 Nights of Freedom. And it will be a community calendar that starts on August 28th, which is the original night of the first marches of open housing marches. And much like the marchers, we're taking inspiration from them. We're going on for 200 consecutive nights after that. And in that calendar, you'll find community contributions of all kinds. So it will range from being in a church basement to some of the largest stages in Milwaukee. What we're offering this as a platform for helping people find each other and communities connect to themselves to build power.
50 years ago, it was pretty clear that the people who lived on the south side of the bridge were mostly white. The people who lived on the north side of the bridge were mixed, but predominantly black. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily that way today. So what do you hope to accomplish by looking backwards?
So I think you're totally right. The landscape of the city, there's a totally different complexion, different dynamics. And I think that the hope is, through 200 Nights of Freedom, is to connect, to bridge communities. So kind of that Prentice mentioned the power of when he crosses 16th Street Viaduct, what he was met with on the other side. I think in some ways there's still a lot of people who are still afraid of crossing the 16th Street Viaduct, creating connections across that viaduct, across the valley. Also creating connections within communities is what we're hoping to do. Throughout the course of those 200 nights, we're hoping that people are able to see the strength and the assets and the abundance that we have in our Milwaukee community already.
If people want to find out about it, there's a website, of course.
Yes, I'll give the contact. It is marchonmilwaukee50th@gmail.com is the easiest way to reach us.
Who do you want to participate? Just leaders, ordinary people, adults, children? Who should be in it?
Let me say this. Donald Trump just took office. This is the beginning of Black History Month when this program will be shown. We're all going to be affected by his presidency. We're either going to be divided or we're going to be united. Our effort is to unite us now. I mean, we just had the Women's March in Washington, D.C., and it was women, African Americans, Hispanics, and that's who we want to come to the meeting. People of all ethnic diversity, class diversity, because right now there's really a class war that's going on.
So when's the next time people can participate?
So our first public community workshop that we're having to get involved in 200 Nights of Freedom is on February 8th. It'll be at Marquette University in the Alumni Memorial Union from 4 to 6 as part of their mission week. And we're going to have subsequent workshops after that. And we're actually expecting that first one to sell out. So hopefully, if you're watching this, you can get a seat there. But we're going to have subsequent workshops in March, April, and beyond.
All right. Thank you both very much. Adam Carr and Prentice McKinney.
Thank you
for coming and talking to us here on Black Nouveau.
Thank you.
Thank you.
African Americans make up 12% of the population and 45% of the new HIV cases. Next Tuesday is National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day. We'll discuss that in a few minutes. But first, Everett Marshburn has this report on PrEP, one of the weapons in the fight against HIV.
There are more than 1 million people in the United States living with HIV. Many of them are unaware that they carry the virus. There are at least 50,000 new cases each year. Condoms and testing have been the major weapons used to stop the spread of HIV. But last year, the Food and Drug Administration approved the use of a new weapon, pre-exposure prophylaxis, or PrEP. It's a pill that must be taken daily, and it is only for men and women who are HIV negative and at high risk for exposure to the virus. Theo Braden is 30, openly gay, and a program research assistant for the PrEP study at UW-Madison's Division of Infectious Diseases. He became interested in PrEP before he started that job because he heard about it from a friend.
He was telling me all about it and ranting and raving about like how good this drug was and how it was spreading like wildfire. So the cool thing to do is to kind of be on it. So that was kind of, a lingering thought. But then growing up in a poor neighborhood, a poor black neighborhood, like I saw the devastating effects of HIV/AIDS. So it's always been near and dear to me. So I know like the reality of the disease, and if there was a way to prevent it, even if I am protecting myself all the time, I was sure gonna jump on board with it. I grew up in Tampa, Florida, like in this project complex called Review Terrace, and it was really run down. It was, lots of, drug addicts, and so it was just, HIV was rampant. I didn't see too many gay people, because I identify as gay, but there were lots and lots of heterosexual people who were HIV positive. And I think because HIV wasn't really talked about, it was talked about in terms of being like that stuff, or, the ninja is what we used to call it. So we never actually named it and never had discussions around it, I think. That's why it was spreading like wildfire.
What about side effects? Did you have any side effects when you started taking PrEP?
Well, the thing of it is, it's like when you hear so many stories about, nausea, and like having vivid dreams. And so I can recall thinking I had a vivid dream, but I don't think I did. I think it was, imagined. So ever since I've started it, I've had no side effects whatsoever.
He's been taking 1 pill a day since October of 2014.
You have to take the regimen daily in order for it to work. And so if you skip a dose and if you end up having, unprotected sex, then you could become HIV, become infected with HIV, and the medications don't work, if you are HIV positive. So it's, to make sure that you are getting what you need in terms of healthcare. And so I, get tested for HIV and syphilis every 3 months, and then also with every 3 months I have to undergo a lab panel to check my creatinine levels, because there is a potential that it might have it might impact your kidneys, and so they check, to look at your creatinine levels and to make sure that everything's functioning well, and everything has been, and I've had no complaints. It's been wonderful.
Just as HIV carries a stigma, so does PrEP.
I think from what I see, there's a lot of stigma about PrEP, which is kind of why I was a little bit, leery of being out about being on it, because there's this association that if you're on PrEP, and that means you must obviously want to be having unprotected, sex. And I don't think that that's true. I mean, I think there are people who do it for those reasons, but I think another reason is that you just want to be, at least in my case, I want to be as safe as possible. And so I want people to kind of look past the stigma of being, oh, if I take PrEP, that means I'm going to be having, tons of wild unprotected sex. People are going to be thinking that about me. And to instead look at it as a way of just making sure that they are protected. And if you can protect yourself without any side effects, at least in my experience, then why not do that?
Imagine that you start taking PrEP once a day. Your body digests the pills, and the medication starts building up protection for your T cells. After taking a pill each day for about a week, your T cells are getting maximum protection.
This video offers an in-depth explanation of how PrEP works to prevent the HIV virus from successfully spreading. It can be found at whatisprep.org. You can also get more information about PrEP at the AIDS Resource Center of Wisconsin, arcw.org/PrEP, or by calling 800-359-9272.
Ronnie Grace is the lead coordinator for HIV and sexually transmitted infections at Diverse and Resilient. Thanks for joining us, Ronnie.
All right, thank you for having me.
So we're here to talk about National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that day?
Well, National Black HIV Awareness Day is a day that we commemorate HIV awareness around the country. So unfortunately, a great deal of the population, African American population in particular, are still dealing with high rates of HIV infections. And so it's important that we get the message out about HIV awareness and how the importance of being tested.
What are the key areas that the day observes?
The key areas is basically awareness. You know, the more aware that the community is, the more hopefully that they will seek out HIV testing sites and locations and consider getting tested for HIV.
Now, the numbers are high here nationally and locally.
Yes, they are.
What are those numbers, and are they coming down, going up?
Well, the numbers are coming down in some communities, and in other communities, the numbers aren't. They're kind of leveling off. The highest rates of infections right now happens to be with young African American men, and Latino men have the highest rates of new infections in the country.
What's that age range that you guys have a problem with?
The age range basically is between 13 to 24 and a little upwards to around 29 are the highest rates of new infections.
Why does HIV continue to be a problem in the African American community?
It's the African American community in many areas are still underserved. There's lack of prevention efforts throughout certain communities. There's the socioeconomic areas and conditions that we continue to live in, and a host of other ills that we deal with in the African American community.
And there's the stigma too. Can you talk about that?
Stigma is huge in the community. There's the stigma around getting tested for HIV. There's the stigma around being gay. There's the stigma that's out there in the community about being able to take care of yourself and going to places that might be identified in some cases as LGBT or gay organizations.
Now, PrEP has been called the miracle pill in this fight against HIV and AIDS. Is that pill, that medication, getting to the right people?
Slowly but surely. Anytime you bring in something new into the community, there's oftentimes some resistance or reluctance. But fortunately now, there are many organizations that you can go to get PrEP. The pill is really saving lives right now. You can go to, it's been covered by lots of different entities. The federal government is covering PrEP. There are different state organizations who are covering PrEP. And depending upon your income, the accessibility of the pill may differ, but it's definitely out there on the market, and it's definitely something that works, and we know that it works when people take it.
Real quick, we only have a few seconds. Can you tell me about testing and where you could go to get tested?
Well, you can get tested at our agency, Diverse and Resilient, and you can also go to our website to find other organizations and agencies throughout the city that does HIV testing also.
And testing is anonymous?
Testing is totally anonymous and confidential. It's free also. And at our agency, not only do we test for HIV, we're also doing testing for other STDs as well.
Great. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.
Oh
Black Arts Milwaukee will present the Kofi Dance Company and performance on February 2nd and 3rd at 7:30 at the Marcus Center. And before we close tonight, we note the passing of former Alderwoman Marlene Johnson Odom. She served on the Common Council longer than any other woman. She represented the 6th District from 1980 until 2004. Mrs. Johnson Odom was involved in civil rights, fair employment, and economic development issues. She's survived by 3 children and a number of grand and great-grandchildren. And that's our program for this week. For Black Nouveau, I'm Joanne Williams. Thanks for watching, and do something to celebrate our history.